Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of Just Another Kill Team podcast, connecting kill team communities across the globe. If you're passionate about the tactical skirmish game that brings together strategy, lore, and creativity, you are in the right place. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and stay updated with our latest episodes. If you want to support the show, check out our Patreon. Your support means a lot to us. Follow us by using the social media links in the podcast description for all the latest news, and be sure to leave a review to let us know what you think. All right, you guys, I want to take a quick moment to let you all know about Crossfire Games that is sponsoring this episode, a couple additional episodes as well. Crossfire Games makes some super cool tokens, token holders, measuring tools, all sorts of awesome goodies. They're super, super cool, really like high quality 3D printed stuff. You can grab it from the Etsy link in the show notes and use the coupon code JUSTANOTHERKILLTEAM, all one word, all uppercase at checkout to get a little discount and to help us out.
We're here to talk about, Corsairs. Have you been playing Blades of Cain too?
I have not played Blades of Cain, no. We have someone locally who does, but look, I've thought about them a lot.
You've been on the Corsairs kick since Nova, kind of? I mean, I guess you were on Imperial. So you were on Inquisition at Worlds, and now you're kind of on you're on Corsairs at the moment?
I'm like 70% Brood Brothers, 30% Corsairs, but I've like spent a lot of time with Corsairs pre-Worlds and then also last edition. So there's like the mix of like...
I'm actually kind of curious on that exact split between Brood Brothers and Corsairs. Which team do you actually think is better right now? Because Brood Brothers not doing the best as far as metagame.
Corsairs are way better. Corsairs are way better. I just really like playing Brood Brothers.
Yeah, I was curious because Brood Brothers stats have not been great week to week, but I can't tell why they're bad. So I'm kind of curious if you could articulate kind of like where the edges of Brood Brothers are kind of getting stuck. Because we're probably going to spend more time talking about Corsairs today, but if we're on Brood Brothers for a little bit, let's talk about Brood Brothers.
Sure. So Brood Brothers have a few problems. One, they are very unforgiving. If you lose them, like you have like 3 people who do all the work, and if any of them die, you're basically done. Doubly so against Marines and Elves. Like, you're playing against Marines, you have your Melter Gunner, your Plasma Gunner is kind of there, but half the time he isn't, and you have your leader. And if those die without actually doing, like, 2.5 Marines worth of killing, the game is done, and you can't do it. Like, you literally can't win. Like, no, you could play perfectly everything else after your Melter Gun dies, and you will lose. And that is, like, really bad. You have to also, like, really unlearn a bunch of stuff. Like, you can get like a turn 1 Melter Gun shot. You should never take it. Never take it. You need your Melter Gun to shoot like 3 times in the game. You need to do everything you can to keep your Melter alive. If you go for that turn 1 shot, even if you kill a Marine, even if you kill 2 Marines, you've probably just thrown the game. And your odds of killing 2 Marines are very low. Like, very, very low.
This is Jason. This is like Jason's bread and butter. Because his entire discussion on Phobos was like, they might take 1 Marine, but I will definitely kill that Melta.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if someone does that, they've just thrown the... Like, I had to work... Like, I worked that out after doing that, and I was like, thinking about it, I'm like, I killed a Marine. And then I couldn't do anything. Okay, I can't do that. I have to do something.
And then the Marines, like, hit the rest of your line and just blitz every other 7-wound dork.
Yeah. I'm like, whoo, I'll hit you with my agitator for 4. Bam! And he's like, I've got 10 wounds left. Fuck. Useless. So... That's, I think, a big part of it, is they're so hard and unforgiving. And then also there is just the fact that sometimes you just will roll badly on your Melter, and the Marine player will not care, and you will lose. You could have 3 rerolls and idolization and get 1 hit. And you're like, okay, I guess I'll idle, and then they'll save it and take 6, and you'll be like, I'm sad. Which is normally not as much of an issue. Like, if you're playing against another guard team or something and your Melter flubs, it's like, oh, this sucks, but whatever. If it flubs against Marines, which is like 2/3 of the games you're playing at this point, right? It's just so, like, tragic.
And are you finding that the archetypes are kind of restricting you because you only have access to security and infiltration? I think most players at this point kind of assume that infiltration is on the weaker end of archetypes. Do you feel like it's limiting what you can do against the things that are good?
I think security is all right. Infiltration is pretty much useless. I mean, you've got some play with like the Gribblies doing gather surveillance, but if there's a Marine player running 6 Marines, that you don't have time to get someone behind their lines and like do stuff like that. You can play contain or take ground reasonably well though. Like if you just play very defensive, so they have no one to go for, and then you like slowly push them out, that can work. And take ground can work pretty well as well in a similar way, depending on if the map enables it. And then like the one random infiltration tech is taking implant into Felgor. Because that's a pretty good counter to them. You're like, oh, cool, I will kill you and implant you and score 2 points this turn. And you're like, that's pretty good. But I mean, take ground and container are pretty good, especially if you make like an obstacle course for the Marines and they just can't get to your half of the board in any way that's useful. You can do pretty well on doing that kind of stuff.
Really playing the asymmetric warfare angle up by laying out barbed wire and extra barricades. And
barbed wire, 2 barricades. You've got pervasive, so you can hop it all. They can't get through the gaps because their bases are too big. It's good. That is a good way to slow down Marines and at least give yourself some control over it.
I'm curious. Do you ever take the Patriarch?
I'm too scared. Like I go in my head, I'm like, oh, if I put the veteran there and the medic with the veteran, and then I protect the Patriarch, he's got all these extra wounds, and he'll go kill 2 Marines, it'll be great. And then I'm like, what if that doesn't work? Everything is done. I need a little Gribbly so I can score points.
Little Gribblies are so good. Yeah, they're amazing.
That's it. That's really it. Like the Gribblies are too good to not take, and the Patriarch is still on 3s. Like now he's on 3s. It's like, oh, I'll go fight a Marine. And I rolled 2 hits, and the Marine rolled 5. I guess I'm gonna not be able to do anything else this game.
Because he can actually lose now. When he hit on 2s, it was a kind of guarantee that you would land anywhere from 4 to 5 hits.
4 to 5, and get like a crit, and you could fish for crits without feeling scared. Now it's like, oh, I fight a Marine, and we have almost the same weapon, except that it really, really matters if I flub. And it's like you're putting even more ways to like fail. Whereas if you bring the Magus and you're -1ing a Marine and doing like 4 to 6 damage to one, that's like, that's something. That's big. It can be huge. Like,
yeah. That's like real work. That's like real work that you don't actually have to commit that much work to, right? Like the real risk reward positioning that Brood Brothers have right now is you could take the 21 wound dude who can kill 2 Marines probably, but a chance of only killing 1, or you could take the Magus who just guarantees -1 APL, does chip damage in the back line and is never touchable, with 2 dudes who can go do mission actions.
And her melee's pretty good in the end game. Like if you got like someone supporting, the staff does damage. It's like 4/6.
Yeah, 4/6, and it's got the psychic tag for the random Inquisition Agents players who has a system of silence on the team.
Yeah. Which is real. Like you need that damage. Like my game with Liam, he was playing Nemesis Claw. We were playing a tournament. It came down to my Magus going and punching Marine in the head to just get 4 more damage through to finish him off. And over the course of the game, that Magus did a lot by -1ing, chipping, etc. That's really like your melter will kill 1 guy, and then every other guy is 3 shoot attacks / fight actions / Magus. Like you are like working so hard to kill 1 Marine. And the Magus just gives you an extra way to do that, and that's really valuable. I also think the Primus can also be really good. The shooting of him, his shooting is really good. Like, if you have, like, 2 crossfires on someone, which is pretty easy to do, you shoot the lethal 5-gun twice, a Marine's gonna not be happy. They're gonna take, like, 12 damage.
Yeah, 4 dice on 3s, 2/4, range 8, lethal 5 silent with a reroll or 2 from your crossfire tokens. Probably is gonna put, I want to say, like, a crit in 3 hits pretty reliably downrange. And if you, because since the Primus can shoot twice, you can probably get, some range, 4 to 8 damage both times and almost reliably kill a Marine, right?
At the very least, like, hurt them enough that you can finish them off. Like, it's big. And then also, like, he has his 4/5 dice. Like, he can go in as well. And, like, if there's a Marine on, like, 8 wounds, he probably kills that Marine in melee. Very reliably.
Are there matchups? So you're taking, it sounds like both the Primus and the Magus at different times. Is there a specific kind of matchup where the Primus's ability to manipulate the turn order comes into play a little bit more?
That's very secondary. Like, that is like the tertiary benefit of him. Like, that is like, oh, neat. I don't go into a game expecting it to matter. It pushes, if from memory, I think it goes to 60-40 in your favor if you had initiative, and then it's like 80-20 if they had it, which is pretty good, but it's still like, it could not come up, especially if you had initiative. Then the next turn, it's not even that big of an advantage. So that's like, no, I'm not too fussed about that. The Primus generally comes out against hordes, where I want his double kill potential, especially against shooty hordes. Him plus the veteran plus the medic is like the trio of death. Where if they try to shoot the Primus off the board, the veteran tanks it, gets revived, and the Primus is just hanging out there, not caring. Or actually, alternatively, depending on what if your opponent has 2 shots lined up, you let the Primus tank the first shot and die, get revived. Then the second shot, your Primus will never die to as well, because then you get damage to President afterwards. And then like he's just sitting there. He can silent shoot them. He can generate CP. Next turn, he can even get healed potentially. So that's really, really good against hordes, because you can just run him up super against a shooty team that doesn't have good melee. You just run him into the middle of the board with the veteran within 3 and the medic within 3, and he's like unkillable. Like,
yeah, it takes a lot of concentrated firepower to bring down the castles when you have the bodyguard on top of models that are already kind of lethal, right?
Yep. And then he can just run in and like kill 2 people.
So you've been finding them pretty solid, but very unforgiving, because right now there is a big 14 wound stat block that just sits there at every tournament, and it doesn't matter how good the opposing player is. They can always spike high and just walk into your lines and crush you.
I think it does matter how good they are. Like, if they're not good enough to get around the obstacle course, you can obstacle course a bad Marine player into oblivion and give them nothing to do. But if someone understands how to play around that, then it becomes very, very hard. But doable, but hard.
Yeah, whenever I get the feeling that someone's going to obstacle course me, I make sure to bring ladders and then just jump past the obstacle course.
Well, okay, you also have Reavers when you're playing Phobos, right?
That's true,
It depends what you're playing, right? Reavers can get around the obstacle course by going vertical in a way no one else can, really.
They just zip and flip and zoop and stab people.
Oh, it's terrifying. It's terrifying. Yeah, so that's the main thing is the can they get around the obstacle course, and then if they can, then you've got some trouble. One thing I discovered was apparently terrifying is Hunterclade is terrifying for Brood Brothers. Trying to kill damage reduction Rust Stalkers when everything does 4 damage on your team. You're like,
Liam did randomly ping me, out of nowhere after that patch, and he's like, yo, Sicarians are kind of hot at -1 damage, and I was like, what's going on down there? So I guess that must have been the game.
He did cheat slightly. He brought 1 too many, but that's fine. We won't talk about that. We both misread it, and we were like, that seems fine. But no, it was like, there was just a Rust Stalker there. I'm like, so if I throw a crack grenade at it, I'll do like 6 damage? Oh, that's not very good. Then he heals 2d3. I'm like, oh, he's back to like 9 wounds. Cool. I guess I won't kill him this turn.
And then he turns off the deprecation and just runs at you anyway.
And then he turns off all my rerolls. I can't hit anything. I'm playing Brood Brothers. I need those. That might be more a Brood Brothers problem, being entirely based on just having like triple balance to kill something.
I mean, that is kind of the current struggle of most of the horde-ish shooting teams. Is like you're balanced on, you hit on 4s, you can do a fair amount of work, but it's all on rerolls.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of teams have a lot of rerolls now. Liam was also talking about he played a game against Blades of Cain, and turning off their rerolls was comedy. Like, so
yeah, they get to do it once a turn, and you turn off all of their rerolls.
Yeah.
As a Hunterclade player, because your Sicarian Rust Stalkers just have a 6-inch bubble of no rerolling around us.
Infiltrators, not Rust Stalkers.
Infiltrators, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, you're going to want to play all infiltrators. How many infiltrators can you take?
You can take 5.
You take 5,
but they're a lot worse in melee. They're missing a whole dice and balanced, and you don't want to be playing the rerolls thingo, the mechanic.
Yeah, I think you take 2 or 3 basically to spread along the midboard, so like the first line of contact just is forced to play the game.
The thing is, it's a 6-inch bubble which doesn't require visibility, so 2 of them just covers the entire board.
Yeah, so it's like exactly like the Vox Breaker. Yeah, 2 of them should be enough.
2 Vox Breakers. Yeah, imagine 2 Vox Breakers, Jason. How good would that be?
Right? A nightmare. Like, dang,
look, don't tempt him, okay? He's gonna switch teams.
I got a new team I gotta be indecisive about.
Yeah,
so Brood Brothers has been fun, running into some issues. Your opponents are, depending on your opponents, sometimes they make it through the obstacle course and they just turn you into mincemeat. What are your hardest matchups? Is it just the Marines, or is it kind of, the game is pushing back a little bit by making hordes a little bit worse? Have you started playing for an even later turn 2, like a lot of the other horde teams have had I think it sounds like that we're starting to structure horde teams as like end of 2, lose a point, play for 3 and 4?
Kind of. I think with the nature of Insidious, like the dash and stuff, and also coordinated fire, especially now with the FAQ letting you shoot people in smokes and stuff properly, you usually go for like 2 shots turn 1, then slow turn 2, then go back into like end of 2. Because like you what I found is you run the crack grenade guy up, he tosses a crack grenade. If you win initiative, then you toss a bomb and the game just ends. And he's not that valuable that you need to keep him around for the entire game like the Melter is. So just having him run forward, toss a crack, coordinate with the Primus or the Magus, kill 1 to 2 people, threaten to win the game instantly on turn 2. And then you're like, okay, that's done. And because he flew up like 12 inches, you didn't have to stage anyone else aggressively. Then everyone else is safe. And also because of his threat, your opponent's scared to move up. So you can like deny so much space on 1, send 1 guy forward as a missile, kill a couple people, and then play defensive again for the rest of 2.
See, so it's a couple of like early launch threats to really put your opponent in weird positions because you can play on turn 1 where most people just don't play on turn 1 right now because there's no real impetus to.
Yeah. You go guys, so you got your dashes. Ideally, you roll a 2 at least. If you roll a 1, you're a bit sad, but you can still play with just 1. 2 ideally, because then you can put enough threats forward to cover most of the board. Then you go free ploy and play pervasive for free, so you can jump barricades and walls and stuff. And suddenly, like, there's almost nowhere for your opponent to go on turn 1, where they don't get shot and then coordinated on.
It's like one of those positions where if your opponent moves anywhere past like the 6-inch line on their side, they just get nuked by something.
Even like 3 inches. Like, think about it. If you've guys forward, +1 APL means you can move 9 with a move dash. Plus, you can go another 3 with Insidious. So you can go 15 from your drop zone, ignoring a climb. You can reach like within like 3 of their drop zone pretty reliably.
Yeah, I think that Pathfinders are also kind of in that spot where you take a 50-50 if your opponent is playing a team that you out activate. So like Elves are a good example where launching up 2 drones and taking a gamble on your opponent is pretty fine, because if you lose, the drone dies, that's fine. And then if not, the drone controller presses the button twice and 2 more drone shots happen at the beginning of the next turn. You're like, all right, well.
Yeah. It's very similar. It's guy throws a crack, and then it's like if he dies, you don't care. And if you're bringing the prime, it's like you've got the advantage on the roll as well. So it's like if you got an 80-20,
it's like the last set of things that you do on turn 1 anyways. So your opponent is like, oh no.
Yeah, you're gonna if you kill 1 elf with the crack grenade guy and that's all you do, that's so great. Yeah. You're probably never killing a marine, and like maybe if you roll high on the Primus shots or the Magus Mind Blast, you might kill one. You'll almost kill one though, and then if you win initiative, you throw another crack or something at him.
All right, so a little bit of the turn 1 aggression, which is not something a lot of people can do. I've definitely seen Maguses do a lot on turn 1 too, just like running around pinging people.
Yeah, exactly. That combo of Magus -1ing someone and then dropping some mortals across the map. Even if it doesn't kill, it's significant. And then, you play around that.
So where do you place Brood Brothers right now? Like, as far as the metagame goes, do you think they're A tier, S tier, B tier?
Somewhere in the middle, probably. Like high B, low A, probably.
There's a lot of like dice swinginess kind of keeping them down, right? Whereas in last edition, kind of the dice swinginess didn't really matter because you were always hitting your opponent first, like twice, and then you had big Papa in the background if you really needed him to.
Well, a big part of last edition was the score lead you'd have from turn 1. And also the terrain being more favorable to them. Like, being so much denser on Volcus makes a lot of their tricks less effective. Especially a lot of their, like, line-of-sight tricks. Or, like, the Magus jumping on a vantage and mind-blasting someone in light cover across the map or some crap like that. So, yeah, that's, like, the big thing. And then it's not just the dice swinginess. It's the teams that are popular make dice swinginess way more important. Like, when there's Marines around, dice swinginess matters a lot more. If it's between, like, if you kill or don't kill, like, a Deathcore guy, it doesn't really matter that much. Like, oh, no, it's annoying. His Melter lived. He'll kill one of my guys. If a Marine tanks your Melter and lives, he's going to, like, kill 2 people, counteract, blow a 3rd guy's head off, take the point on his own, and sit there for next turn where he's going to do the same thing again. And you have no one left that can do anything about him, right? Like, when a dice fail happens against a Marine, it's so much more impactful than when it happens against any other team. So that means that the dice swinginess matters more. And then also the team is just so unforgiving. That's why they're not, like, that's a big part of it, is they're just very hard to play.
Yeah, I did feel like at the end of last edition, they got a lot of free leeway by just being able to get so far ahead on turn one. Like you were guaranteed to take a crack grenade and like guaranteed to take almost a kill pretty much like no matter what you do, because you had to play that first turn. It was very hard to come back from, a 2 or 3 point deficit at the beginning of the game if you didn't have like a solid plan for winning immediately on turns 2, 3, and then just like making sure your opponent was like fully dead by 4. But it was super hard back then.
You had to basically bum them. You had to play so aggressively that the fact that they're going to kill someone doesn't matter. That was like the thing.
Which was Jason's strategy back then.
Yeah, and it's very counterintuitive. But the game I won against them, against Dan at WTC, I literally ran like 6 salvages into the middle of the board around my Thane with the 3-up invuln with the medic there. And I put my defense token down there. You can shoot one. Go for it. We'll see. He won't die. And then I just sent everyone in, just going bang, 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 going for double kills and killing every threat. That worked great.
Love that.
Yeah. Honestly, that sounds like a pretty solid, 3-up save. It was a 3-up invuln in a
4-up invuln with a reroll.
And then with a defense aura, so like, they could hit the blast, but you could probably make it through a blast and make it through.
There's a medic there, so if one guy drops, he gets revived. It's fine.
Yeah, I've been noodling around a little bit with Blooded, which has been super fun. I mean, it's been with Infiltration and Seek and Destroy. I'm like, man, they're not amazing at either of those tac ops, which is definitely the toughest part of the team. But playing a Horde has been a completely, absolutely different thing than anything I've ever been doing. Trying some cagey games, trying some aggressive games. It works way better to be cagey, and I'm like, this is what it's like to be a normal kill team player.
Do you think
what it means to be immortal in the Warhammer 40k universe where Angels of Death stalk the battlefield?
Real Angels of Death, at least, not last edition's Angels of Death.
Yeah, exactly. As much as everyone is, complains about the Astartes kind of like stifling the metagame a little bit, it also is, now I feel very much like this is what 40k is.
We're all victims in a Marine story.
Yeah, exactly. As far as like things that are crushing the Marines, it is kind of, the elves feel like they are the natural counter, and they've kind of come out of the tunnels to start dumping on the Astartes a little bit.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, look, I'm all in on Corsairs. I think they're maybe the best team in the game. Maybe not.
I mean, look, we played that one game at the Nova prep thing, and I was like, this is BS. These rules are insane.
You shot like a 3-man blast grenade at me because I wasn't paying attention, and my guy just I lost 2. I'm like, oh well, it's fine. I'll kill the rest anyway.
Meanwhile, I got like the Kasrkin rules. I was like, well, I got one cool ploy.
We played Kasrkin versus Vesper. That might have been the most like low power game of kill team.
That was right now. That is like a 50-50 team versus like a 80-20 team.
Yeah,
or 20-80 team. It's bad.
Maybe the 2 worst teams in the game. Maybe. I didn't even have Lethal 5 in the Vesper then. That was horrible.
True.
But Corsairs are phenomenal. Yeah, I think. Look, they had some of their tricks clipped, which makes me a little bit sad from playing them last edition. But instead, they just got a scratch and interrupts and fight first and like rerolls and reroll always, and the best tack up in the game that synergizes with them perfectly. And hordes, which are a natural counter, you have a bunch of cheese you can do against, like putting your medic on engaged to like get an extra comms. Like, they're so strong. Because really, last edition, the problem Corsairs had was they got flipped crack grenades in their face and would just die. Like that really was like you couldn't do anything about a guardsman throwing an indirect crack grenade at you on 3s, and you're just like, I guess one guy will die no matter what. And that's a lot weaker now, a lot less likely to happen, and you have just a scratch, so you're really not going to die to that crack grenade. And you have misfield too, so
yeah, they're not even getting the piercing most of the time.
You have so much like the team is deceptively tanky, while also still retaining extremely high mobility and high damage. And it's a really, really powerful combination of traits to have.
It's interesting that you say that, because as much as I agree that Corsairs are probably one of the best teams right now, the stats have not really shown that on the week-to-week stat show. Like me and Jason out on Patreon been doing this week-to-week stat show. Corsairs are basically like a 50-50 team, and they have been pretty much almost 50-50 for like the entire edition, and there's almost been no weekends where they really spike at all. So I'm kind of curious, what's your perspective on why that is? Because from reading the rules, like every single operative has got some crazy magic on it. They have infinite rerolls. They've got lots of defensive tech. Sure, there's only 9 of them. They can't charge, fight, shoot. They can't do 2 aggressive actions for 1 operative, which maybe trims some of their possibility. But there are 9 of them, so I'm very curious to hear why you think they haven't been doing as well as it sounds like both of us think they should be doing.
I think part of it is that every sweaty elf player is playing Harlequins instead. That team just seems to attract more of the really sweaty elf players for whatever reason. It's just true, right? And there might be something to that. I don't think Harlequins are, especially not now that they've had that little nerf, as good as Corsairs. But it could be. I could be wrong. I think that's part of it, though. And also, they're a team that's like getting rotated out, so people are probably less interested to play them. And they've been like kind of good for a very long time. Like they've been a viable. Like you could have been playing this team from release till now, and never felt like my team sucks. I want them to get better.
True. They've been in the mix for the last basically 3.5 years. They've never really been unplayable, but they've never been like S tier. But right now it feels like they have enough rules and enough plays where they could be one of those S tiers, but no one is on them. Because you're right, Void Dancers have been killing it and doing pretty well across the board since people figured out that they could beat Marines. So It's interesting.
But I think if you took all those Void Dancers players who are winning on Void Dancers and put them on Corsairs, they'd be doing the exact same thing.
Yeah, maybe there are a couple fewer guarantees when you're interacting with Corsairs versus Void Dancers, because Void Dancers, for all of their annoying tricks, you really don't roll dice most of the time, because the ability to get the crit and then fall back and then shoot someone, that's just effectively baked into the turn. Like it's always going to happen at least once, maybe twice.
Unless you roll truly horrendously, yeah.
Yeah, 5 on 3s with 0 hits.
It's
pretty hard.
I've done
There's
it.
always tilting shields.
There's always tilting shields. That's true. Angels of Death can be the bulwark against the madness of Void Dancers.
So yeah, I think that might be it. I think also Corsairs have a lot of rules you need to line up in some ways to make the most value out of them. Like the Kernite Hunters, like interrupt, for example. Like you have to line that up. It's a lot more work than just. Void Dancers are a simpler team in a lot of ways. They have like you said, what happens is you charge someone, you stab them, you guarantee your crit, you dash away, and then you shoot someone else. Corsairs are a lot less linear to their power. Like they have a lot more steps to achieve the same end, which I think also might be a part of it.
Yeah, I could definitely see that, because it's like I would consider that Corsairs are more of a toolbox team, and if your tool is not in the correct lane, it just doesn't get used. Because like if someone comes up and shoots the Karnathi from far away, you're like, oh, I thought he was going to charge someone, but instead I'm dead.
Pre-parry your bullets.
Yeah. Whereas like with Void Dancers, it's kind of like Mandrakes and it's kind of like Blades of Cain, where each of the operatives is going to do the thing that you need to do, and they all kind of, it might not be as powerful as a Karnathi interrupting a single activation to get ahead of your opponent, but having the reliability of this missile will always do 9 damage is definitely a power thing that Corsairs, as much as they have their rerolls, it's not guaranteed yet.
No, I get you. I think that is a part of it. Yeah, and also I think, on release, I think at least like stuff like Warp Coven was too much of a pain to deal with Corsairs. Like the reduction of the piercing and all the interrupts, and then turning your dice to fails and all that was too much of a problem. But I really do think like, if you play really, really, really well with your positioning, Corsairs are really hard to deal with. But yeah, like you said, it's not as much of a one-way missile. Like, well, not as much anymore with Harlequins, again, with the change for them to climb 2 now, right? But also that asymmetry, right? Like, Corsairs can move dash shoot someone asymmetrically in a way that, unless you're an elf, you can't do. But Void Dancers being able to charge someone asymmetrically is more powerful of an ability on a raw, like, power level. And so that is also, I think, a part of it, is like getting asymmetric charges into other elves, for example, is something that Corsairs can't do outside of like using Plunderers, which you can only do at the start of a turn if you want an initiative, yada, yada, yada. Whereas your Void Dancers can always asymmetrically charge Corsairs, which means if you're playing that matchup, as the Corsair player, you actually have a much higher requirement of your positioning to not be in a really bad spot. It's probably a very like hard matchup to play as Corsairs as well. I think Corsairs can win it. I've always had this. There's always been the Corsairs versus Void Dancer discussion since last edition, and I feel the same way. Where it's like, if you play it as Corsairs and you manage to negate that asymmetry, you can win. But God, it's hard to do that. Like you have to just position like perfectly, basically, with everyone.
Yeah, and I think part of that like combo when you're playing against the other elf teams with a little bit more mobility, you know, Mandrakes and Void Dancers both have the ability to kind of shuffle around the movement a little bit. It's like your Kernite Hunter who can go first has to be, you know, further ahead than you would want him to be normally, right? Because it's not trying to bleed at the edge of the charge range. You got to be a little bit further so that if you get the charge, you can actually move into combat range with someone else.
Yeah, it is a lot of unintuitive things you have to do in the matchup. Basically, you have to recognize that you're actually like between like just a scratch, fight first, pre-parry. Pre-parry doesn't matter, although pre-parry could actually be huge into those Void Dances. You got one crit, I'll pre-parry that. Now you've got nothing, right? Using those tools into like Mandrakes, Void Dancers, etc. It requires you to be super aggressive to get the most out of them, and then also getting like value out of your leaders, like ability to charge, fight, shoot. You need to +1 APL. Like, you have to pre-set up your charge, fight, shoots, like with +1 APL on one of your like melee guys or something. That has a much higher requirement than just being 3 APL all the time, or being a Mandrake and putting a little soul token on a guy somewhere and be like, no, he's going to do a fireball after he kills you or whatever.
Oh yeah, interesting. I didn't even think about that.
What, the
needing to get the APL on the Fel arc ahead of time.
Oh, if you put the APL on the Fel arc, he is truly crazy. He is like a 4 APL effective monster. You could like charge someone, plant a beacon in their engagement range with your light finger so you have rerolls, stab him in the face, then shoot someone else with rerolls the entire time.
That's pretty gnarly.
Light fingers and beacons and the rerolls from Profiteers is a very powerful combo, because you can like, normally if you wanted to charge, fight, plant beacon, there's a risk that your fight fails, but you can now guarantee it, and you spend a CP to get a reroll essentially, which is like a normal enough trade. And then yeah, with something like your leader, you can literally charge, fight, plant beacon, shoot. Like, that is such an insane activation.
And then you can, if you're in the right position, the moment your opponent tries to interact with you, you pull out a sword and stab them or shoot them anyways.
Yeah, with the one step ahead. You have to be ready for one step ahead. So.
Oh.
So you wouldn't be able to do it afterwards. One step ahead is. It's like kind of useful, but it is very it's good on like ITD, where you can put him in like the corner of a room or something where no one can shoot him from out of range or something, or like around a corner or in a building or something.
Or like if he's your last activation, then he'll be ready, you know, right after that, obviously.
Yeah, he'll be ready next. Yeah, like it's really big at the start of like turn 3, for example. But yeah, I think the only real shame with Corsairs right now is how useless the Fate Dealer feels. Like being forced to true heavy when your faction ability is free dash, it does my head in a little bit. Like, really? Can we just have dash on my highly mobile immortal sniper, please? No? Okay.
That's true. Yeah, I guess full heavy on the free dash team does make the sniper a little bit more awkward than he was in the last edition in some ways.
Last edition was one of the best operatives. Like you could play them aggressively. Like you could dash, shoot someone on a point, and then take the point from them because you had an APL left. Or just sit on your point at home, dashing and shooting. Like there was a lot of flexibility to it. Now, like the best thing you can do is like set him up to plant a beacon and shoot, which can be good. Like you put him on advantage and plant a beacon up high and then shoot. It can be okay.
You can always run him into a room into the dark and guard, and he still hits on 2s.
That's true. That's true. Move dash guarding is huge as well. On ITD, the sniper is really good. I will say on ITD, you can get a lot of value out of the Fate Dealer. On open, it can be very hard.
Are you finding that you don't take the Fate Dealer on open just because of that lack of mobility when the rest of the team needs to be getting around the board so much?
Kind of like depends on the matchup, probably. Like if there's like or the map actually more than anything. If there's a really good split to put the Fate Dealer where it covers like most of the objectives and does a lot of work, then it can be worth it. Like just having that ability to like shoot on silent the entire game is nice. But yeah, like just bringing like a power weapon warrior sometimes feels better. Just because I need mobility. I mean, you can use them aggressively with the pistol. Like you could just run up to people and shoot them with the shuriken pistol if you really need to. But at that point, it's like if I just had a power sword, I could just charge and stab you in the face.
Yeah, a little. It's definitely a little bit of a sad thing, but yeah, on In the Dark, where the power of guard explicitly, for anyone who doesn't know where the rule is at this point, you go to heavy, and then if you look at the rules for heavy, it specifically carves out that it doesn't matter when you go on guard.
Yeah,
which is a weird spot to put the rule.
It's huge. It is very very powerful.
Are you finding that you're taking the heavy gunner some percentage of the time right now? I guess against Marines, the Wraith Cannon maybe has some usage.
Look, people will talk about how great the Wraith Cannon is to Marines, and all I can say is, did they forget to bring their smokes? Sure, if you can shoot the Wraith Cannon at the Marine unobstructed in any way, it's fantastic. If the Marine just charged and killed someone and was like, oh, I'll drop a smoke here, now your Wraith Cannon is a glorified, I don't even know what. It's just kind of bad.
It's a sad melter, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, oh, cool, no AP and I miss a dice and I'm heavy and oh no. Honestly, if anything, I think the Shuriken Cannon is really good and underrated. I would even consider bringing Shuriken Cannon Blaster into Marines.
And this is just because you want that extra die to interact with your opponent who is going to go into smoke all the time.
Well, also because your Blaster can take care of the guy in the smoke, and your Shuriken Cannon can go for someone else then. But if you go the other way around, we bring the Shredder to do that. The Shredder isn't going to take care of the guy in the smoke. And then, it's just you need the Piercing 2 to be a tool you can always call on. Whereas your secondary gunner doesn't matter as much. That's the main reason why. And I guess when you compare the upside of Shuriken Cannon to Shredder, it's bigger than the upside of going from a Blaster to a Wraith Cannon as well.
Yeah, I guess the damage profiles, because they look kind of the same at first blush, having 5 dice on 3s versus 4 dice on 3s between the Blaster, or between the Shredder and the Shuriken Cannon. Yeah, 5 dice on 3s, 4-5 rending's pretty solid.
The rending is like having the extra dice really ups your chance of proccing the rending, which then really spikes your damage up.
Yeah, I mean, Jason knows you really don't want to get shot by a bunch of crits as a Marine player.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's it.
True.
And if you've got Contemptuous Adventurer with the Relentless Shuriken Cannon,
that's why my new build is stealthy and hardy. And you retain a crit, you roll a 5 on another crit, and then you transhuman physiology. And anytime someone spikes 3 crits, you've got a CP for it.
Well, you should just play Hearthkin and just turn all of them into normals.
That would work too.
Yeah, but you wouldn't have the 3 APL.
That's true. He would. Well, he would sometimes.
Yeah, he would sometimes.
He has a ploy for it. But yeah, no, I do like the Shuriken. If it's a map where our heavy gunner is good, I like to go Blaster Shuriken Cannon, just because I don't want to have to deal with. But I mean, Volcus, the amount of heavy also makes it harder to use the Wraith Cannon.
And is the Shuriken Cannon a little faster? Is it heavy reposition?
No, it's still heavy dash. But the main point is that your AP2 weapon is the mobile one now, if you go the other way around. Whereas otherwise, your gun that can kill Marines, if it can't get a target that turn, is doing nothing. Whereas if you have your Blaster be your Marine killing gun, it can basically always find the angle or get in range.
Yeah, and this gives a good tieback point to one of our discussions with Angels of Death with Janice, where we're talking about how you take the Eliminator and you just throw them out of the Angels of Death team, because you really can't sacrifice a whole operative to kind of waste a turn. Whereas at least on Corsairs, because you have 9 operatives, you can kind of sack, one piece to be a positional thing that counterfires. Either the sniper or the heavy gunner are in positions where they overlook most of the map. So if your opponent goes to touch one of your forward pieces, you always have a punishing return fire that can execute your opponent. Whereas when you're playing Angel of Death, you really don't have time for that, because if you keep your sniper in the back line, he's not going to be able to score. So it's better to just run more melee Marines that walk to your opponent's midline and then jumps forward to their drop zone.
Look, I think that sniper, at least on ITD, that sniper is cooked and you always bring him. But on open, he's definitely a maybe, maybe not. And I mean, the gunners are also the Wraith Cannon does become a lot better on ITD as well. That is worth noting. On ITD, I could definitely see the argument oh, there's a Marine in the smoke. I'll just move dash in front of him and go on guard in his face. And cool, I'll now kill him.
Because you can break the guard window when your opponent is playing Marines, because you can give the shield to your heavy gunner and then yeet the heavy gunner in front of him, take the hit because you're pretty sure that you can rosary once, and then as your opponent goes to counteract on you, you just blow the Marine into Kingdom Come.
Exactly. So on ITD, I could totally, and also the Shredder gains lethal 5 on ITD, so it's better at killing Marines on ITD, and the Wraith Cannon's downsides are less important on ITD. So you could kind of flip it back around on ITD, where you'd want to bring the Wraith Cannon instead of the Blaster. But on open, generally, I think it's better to go with the Blaster as your like big AP2 gun, or second AP2 gun, really.
Yeah, and plus, like having Torrent on Into the Dark, like people are going to cluster up, and you can even like torrent. You can get away with torrenting elites on Into the Dark, and that's huge.
And it'll hurt.
Yeah,
it's a torrent that will hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, your opponents really can't have multiple Space Marines hide in a bubble of smoke when you're running around with Torrent 2.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, okay, go in there. I won't shoot the Wraith Cannon. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, it is. It has been funny kind of watching players, Space Marine players like, how many Space Marines can I fit in one thing of smoke? And it turns out the answer is 3 if you stand in a perfect triangle.
Yeah, but it's also always funny when someone's like, I'll throw a smoke here, and they like put the token under the Marine, and they go, oh, I'll put another Marine, and I'm like, you can't. You can't fit there. You didn't put the token where it needs to be. Like, oh, but I meant to do it. Okay, fine. And then the third Marine joins, and I'm like, you really didn't mean to do that.
That's why if you're going to try to fit 3 Marines in one piece of smoke, you got to get those sick Crossfire Games tokens.
Oh, no! The plug. Oh, the plug.
To be fair, they are nice. It's nice having those visual aids. I know at Worlds, the Mexican or the Latin American contingent had like the smokes with their team logo on it, and those are really nice because I have that in my box. I just like drop the smoke. I'm like, all right, there it is.
Look, I think Kyrak's hatchway fight visualizer.
Oh yeah,
I think that should just be built into the map.
So for anyone who doesn't know, Can You Roll a Crit has these 3D printed wall or like hatchway measurements. So it has the 1-inch bubble for the door and then the 2-inch measurement for the hatchway fights. And you slide it underneath in the dark wall, and it shows you the range. You could do this on TTS, but it's kind of funny having it in person. And it was amusing talking to a couple of the GW people floating around about this is how the game is actually played, and they rolled their eyes and they're like, this is a truly lame way to interact with this game. Like, but it's accurate.
They shouldn't have made hatchway fight then, okay? This wouldn't be a problem if hatchway fight didn't exist. It's even, I find hatchway fight on the Volcus doors, like, am I in too? And I'm just like shoving my hand under the ceiling, like, I'm outside it too. It's okay. We got it.
Yeah, have you been finding... So you think that Corsairs are equally good between Volcus and In the Dark? But I know we'd already talked about how their gunner and heavy gunner options kind of invert between Volcus and In the Dark, where on open fields you want to take the faster Pierce 2, and you take the heavier weapon with more dice because you don't really need the mobility on it on Volcus because you can have firing lanes. And then on In the Dark, because you can ignore the heavy restriction, you can do move dash with the Wraith Cannon, and suddenly it's in your opponent's face whenever you need to. And then the Shredder, because it has Torrent, is better on In the Dark. Do you find that kind of like trades off evenly, or do you like one map compared to the other?
I think Corsairs have always been better on ITD, and I still think that's true. I mean, the Shade Runner on ITD is truly insane. Like, truly ill what the Shade Runner does.
I hate that model.
The Shade Runner breaks like every rule of ITD and breaks so many missions. Like, you're playing coordinates against the Shade Runner, it just shows up on your point, puts 2 on there and kills someone, and you're like, oh, I could have done nothing to stop that. Like, the Shade Runner makes them so oppressive on ITD.
And they were more oppressive before. They're a little bit less oppressive now.
That's true. Well, they were very oppressive after the ambush change, where no one could ever shoot them on ITD, and they could chain activate an Alpha Strike always. A lot of that stuff is gone. A lot of the cheese they had on ITD is gone. Instead, they just have a new cheese, which is less kill your whole team and more you can't play the mission against me, which is arguably better, worse. I don't know.
And for anyone who doesn't know why we're talking about the Shade Runner specifically, this is the model with the Warp Spider jump pack. It's the Shade Runner, and it specifically has a rule break where when it moves, it can move through walls. And because it says it can move through walls, it can move through walls, which is not a thing that literally any other team has access to in any way, shape, or form.
Yes. You can pick them up, put them anywhere within 7 of where they started, stab someone along the way, do some mortals to them for free, shoot them, charge them, do whatever you want. It is absurd. Give them just a scratch plus 1 APL, and good luck moving that off the point. It even has a silent weapon, so you could stab someone for D3 plus 2 mortal wounds, then throw a silent knife and steal their barricade and hide there in the room with them, or like kill them, or there's so much you do. And also you can do mission actions and engagement range with light fingers as well. Which again, there's so much like you can do with this ability to break ITD. And then also like your gunners both get better. Your sniper becomes playable. Like your operatives, or like they are definitely like not crazy stronger, but definitely stronger on ITD. And also like not feeling the penalty from the door movement as much because you got move 7.
Yeah, you're still allowed to jump over people by hopping off their barricades.
You also like negate stuff like we're talking about Harlequins. Like a lot of their advantage gets negated on ITD because there isn't terrain to hop over and abuse. You know, Mandrakes can't dash as easily like through doors and stuff, and they're also more APL limited than you are. So a lot of those matchups into other elves also get better because those elves aren't as good at interacting with ITD. Well, you're really good at it. Also, another fun one on ITD, your duelist, when he double shoots, if you kill someone with your fusion pistol, you can go on guard with your shuriken pistol. Because you do 2 shoot actions. Guard is a shoot action, so you can shoot. Oh, this guy's dead? Cool, I'll go on guard, I guess. Like, someone walks up to him, you just shuriken pistols them in the head. Pretty good chance you'll mess them up, maybe even kill them, like, depending on what it is. Can even... Actually, also, another FAQ thing, if you get charged while on guard with him, it's not a point blank Overwatch, just regular shoot.
Yep, because he can shoot while in engagement range, so his shoot is uninterrupted.
Correct. So he shoots. Yeah, he just shoots, and then he can roll dice normally. Doesn't have the -1 to hit. Phenomenal. Like, hello. Like,
and then can still fight if your opponent chooses to fight afterwards. He pulls out his sword and stabs.
Yeah, and he might have just done like 7 damage to you with his shuriken because he rolled like 2 crits and you die.
All right. So definitely, they still remain in the dark elf team. You know, between the 2 boards.
Yep.
They may be more mobile on Volcus, but they have infinitely more tricks on In the Dark, especially when you look at the Shade Runner who can sit on one side of the wall and hit your opponent and then come back. It used to be worse when you could plant beacons along the way on both sides of the wall with the doors closed.
Yeah, that's a good thing that's gone.
It is gone, yes. It's good that we got rid of that. It was a kind of an insane thing that was allowed, and the Shade Runner specifically.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's good that that's dealt with. And then the other thing is like there's just also little things that are also very strong, like having ranged healing on your comms, who's also a power sword. Like that can really like change like with that plus your Justice Scratch, someone can go from like almost dead to like full health +1 APL. Like you can negate a lot of turn 1 pressure that would normally be a problem for you if you're trying to stage aggressively. Like, you can tank some damage, heal up +1 APL, dash somewhere, set up for turn 2. And your opponent's got a model out in the open now. Like if someone for example, like if Brew Brothers tries to throw a crack grenade at you, does like 6 damage to you or whatever, almost kills you, you tank it with just a scratch, you then heal up, you're back to full health, +1 APL, you kill the guy, like that's really strong.
Yeah, so they're definitely a team with a lot more defensive tricks than I think they look like on first blush. You know, you say like, oh, they're 8 wounds, but 8 wounds with just a scratch that ignores crits, which is not a thing that any other team has access to, and the ability to heal 2d3, you can probably survive a fair amount of damage up front.
But also doing something else too. Like that's the thing, you can do both your heal and your +1 APL and do a dash.
And you can do them like in 2 different positions, 6 inches away, which is pretty solid.
Yep. And the 6-inch range on the heal is a big part of it. And then also like we're not even talking about the turn 1 tricks with swapping places. You can get someone like 6 inches off the board on turn 1 with the so you reposition your Wayseeker forward 3 inches with the scouting. He then dashes 3 inches, then he swaps places with someone behind him, and then that person can move, dash, shoot. So you can run someone up 16 inches up the board and shoot someone in the face.
Another piece of turn 1 pressure. Use your opponent's ladder if your opponent is so gracious to set up a ladder somewhere near their deployment zone.
Yep. So you've got a lot of things you can do turn 1 as well. Like you're very strong later on, but turn 1 you can put on a lot of pressure. The usual one is like the Pistolier gets sent forward, blows up a Marine with initiative, blow up another Marine. But you can do a lot of different. Like you could send the Shade Runner forward to stab someone in the face, dash back, be set up next turn. you can set up like you can even some people are like, I'll warp fold my warp cannon, my wraith cannon forward, and then dash and shoot someone. It's like, okay, cool. That's ambitious, but could happen. 9 inches forward, that's pretty scary.
Yeah, depending on how far ahead your opposing Marine player, because you would probably only be doing these strats against teams that you really out-activate, right? I mean, to be fair, there's not a ton of matchups that the elves are particularly worried about outside of other elves right now, because you got the tools to play against the elites. You got enough Pierce 2, you've got enough power weapons, you've got enough chip. It's really just whether or not you kill them fast enough before they instantly kill 2 of your dudes as they hit your lines, right?
Yep. But yeah, there's a lot of strats you can do to deny the Marine player space, or at least make him take a lot of damage for it.
Have you been seeing any issues with the elf teams fighting against things like Plague Marines, who are a little bit tankier than everyone else? The Felgor Ravagers that we kind of expected would be kind of a menace, but so far have been kind of kept in control at the moment. It looks like maybe the addition of terrain to make the obstacle course is kind of slowing down the Felgor assault that I think a lot of players kind of expected would be playable at some point this edition.
I think the Felgor counters elves narrative is like really fake. I've never believed it, and I definitely don't believe it this edition. Like, cool, so you'll charge my fight first guy or my pre-parry guy? Are you planning to lose? Like, do you want to die in your turn? One of them has just a scratch. Like, how badly do I have to roll for you to kill me, right? I mean, Harlequins are gonna just like make you miss with jest. They're gonna dash off of you and shoot you and be an absolute nightmare to deal with. Even like Blades of Cain are gonna be jumping off you, mortaling you, pre-parrying you, stunning you. I don't think
crits.
Yeah, I really don't think Felgor are a problem for any elf team. Maybe maybe Mandrakes. Maybe, man, but even then, like, you can get you have such high chance to get a crit to finish them off in melee. If they charge you, they have a very high chance of dying. If you have any of your defensive tricks up, you have Blast, you have Torrent. Plague Marines I haven't played into, which don't have anyone locally playing them. I don't know how much of a problem they would be, because they reduce damage. They change the breakpoints a lot, but they're also a lot worse at actually getting stuff done against you. Against them, you probably don't get aggressive turn 1. You wait till turn 2 and then mess them up. Just because
it seems like anyone who has been finding success with Plague Marines, instead of trying to go to your opponent, you pick the center part of the map or like the edges of the map, and you just play either contain or secure center, and you force your opponent into the box with you. And that's kind of generally, it seemed like the strategy. Like, you play relatively defensively as the Plague Marine player, and you're going to score points if your opponent doesn't interact with you, and then once they're in range, you kind of like spring the trap. And they've got a fair amount of chip damage floating around. Flail runs around, bonk sticks everybody within 2, sometimes poisons people.
Yeah, I think if you're playing Corsairs into Plague Marines, you need to not fall into the trap of being aggressive turn 1. Like, it's similar to where you wait till they're done for turn 2 with Stux on activity, because it'll all be on guard, but what can you do? But at least you can shoot them with your Wraith Cannon, but they'll be in the Plague Cloud. That sucks. Although you keep the AP against the Plague Cloud, right? It's just obscuring, or is it Smoke as well?
You do keep the AP against the Plague Cloud, so.
You're not too worried about the Plague Cloud then. If you bring the Wraith Cannon, you can force some damage through. I think it really does come down to just letting them walk forward and then getting like 3 things happening turn 2 to kill 1 or 2 of them. And then you can deny them the contain or something because you move 10 inches and you plant your beacons defensively, so you score your attack up and deny them theirs. That probably works okay. Because the main thing is they really can't be aggressive to you, so you have to be patient. You have to not fall into the trap too early. You'll have your rerolls because they'll be on an objective. You'll be able to hit them with the fusion at the end of the turn.
Yeah, it's all a balancing act with the Corsairs, right? Because you can flip the switch really hardcore, but you can never take 2 aggressive actions in 1 activation. So it's just hard for you to actually set up to do, 2 Marines in a turn or a bunch of chip and run away. I guess bunch of chip and run away is probably like the game plan for a couple turns.
Maybe you teleport the Shade Runner forward and stab a Marine for some mortals and then run away. Like, that's
and then do it again the next turn.
Yeah. Just do it. Yeah, exactly. And then next turn, activate again, stab him, run away out of range. They're so slow, they're not going to be able to get to you if you do that. Just stay out of charge range and you'll be all right. And if they shoot a bolt pistol at you, you're probably fine, right? Unless they really spike, which can happen. You could just die horribly, and that would be bad. but also then they're only killing one guy, and you've got wasted. And also your Shade Runner isn't super important for killing Marines, so you're not too cut up about it. You could +1 APL the Shade Runner at the end of 2. Sorry, then of 1. Have it like dash forward, plant a beacon, slicing attack, and run away. And then even if it dies, you're kind of okay with it. So there's a lot you can do. Especially if you like fly to the top of a building. Like fly on top of a building, it's like, do you want to commit a Plague Marine to climb this building, kill this elf, and then be out of the game for 2 turns? Like,
yeah, and like if you send an elf on an errand to just like do a thing, like do some chip damage, plant a beacon or whatever, and then an elite has to activate, and they only get the 1 kill, they're like now they're exposed to more counterfire. That's like another win for you. So it's totally 100%
and they're horribly
fine.
out of position as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's the play for Plague Marines. Like, I think still the scariest elite team is probably Warp Coven.
And the stats, as much as they've been nerfed, the last couple of weeks, Warp Coven have kind of been on the resurgence, and I am not surprised,
nerfs,
not even
baby,
a little bit.
13 nerfs. I read this, I was like, oh cool, so this is still the best team in the game. Cool.
Yeah, that's kind of where I pegged it when they got nerfed, and then they kind of like disappeared for a little bit, and then the last couple of weeks they're back in force. They've been crushing people. I'm not overall surprised. Like, they got the same kind of nerfs that Inquisition got, where Inquisition had a lot of free things that you could do every turn. Warp Coven also had some of those, but Warp Coven's base stats were a lot better, whereas Inquisition agents, once they lost some of that free, every turn I can do a free mission action, now you're suddenly forced to fully think about the turn ahead of you during the turn that you're on, which just cut off a lot of freedom, right? Because you were playing Inquisition at Worlds, and we had talked about this a little on the side. Everyone was like, Inquisition, they should beat Warp Coven. And it turned out, no, the second layer of the game plan was Warp Coven still beat Inquisition.
Yeah, look, the thing with Warp Coven is if you just like look at their ploys and you look at their stat cards, they have like the best Marine stat cards in the game. Like they have a guy who has the Doom Bolt is an insane gun, and you also have a Khopesh. No other Space Marine has an insane long-range gun and a 5-dice power sword, right? You look at, the Flamers are like the best Marine gun. Like, oh, cool, I've got my 3+4/5 crack grenade. And meanwhile, this guy's running around with 4/4 2+ torrent AP1. And you're like, oh, wow, this is so much better than my crack grenade. And then beyond that, they also have like the most broken ploys in the game. I mean, the minus AP got nerfed, but that was never the best ploy. The best ploy was Fate is my weapon. Fate is my weapon is one of probably the best ploys in Kill Team. What's a better ploy than Fate is my weapon?
I think I'd be hard pressed to find one that's actually better right now, considering that Fate itself is my weapon effectively works like the best version of just a scratch and move your dice, whatever your worst dice is, to whatever the dice you need is. It just kind of depends on where it is. So sometimes you roll poorly, and then Fate itself as my weapon is like, it can like. It's just a scratch only. But there are some breakpoints, like, when you're playing against a 4-up team, where suddenly having a 3 and a 6 is like the most broken thing you can do. God. Now you have just a scratch and guaranteed crits, which is like,
I play against that with like, I'm playing Brood Brothers, and I'm thinking, Warp Coven sounds like true like hell. Like, I will never kill their models. And then they have like all the healing as well. They have, Zangor, so they have more activations. They have an action monkey. They have a ton of extra wounds with the damage reduction. They just have so much going on. They just have like, and they're just the best Marine. Like the sorcerers are the best Marine profiles in the game. They just aren't better Marine profiles, and you get 3 of them.
And like Rubric Marines are also insane.
Yeah, and it's ignoring all of their tricks as well. They're just ignoring like the teleporting shenanigans, the flying Space Marine. Hello.
They've got the double counteract thing. You can just like snipe any ability out of anything. You've got your damage reduction,
your order when
just
you
like with the robes.
Oh
change your order when you counteract.
And also the best equipment out of all the Marines, like the crit damage reduction, like.
Yeah, their Warp Coven is still just absolutely, completely insane. Like every time I hear someone that's like, "Oh man, Warp Coven, rip," I'm like, bro.
Have you read your rules? Have you read anyone else's rules? Maybe
you did go from being like a 21 out of 10 to being like a 16 out of 10.
Yeah. It's like Colts post first nerf. It's like, oh, look how many nerfs they got. It doesn't actually matter. It's still like the best team in the game.
Yeah. I mean, Warp Coven definitely, to me, have all the things that they need to still be the best team in the game. And, they were bad for all of last edition. Well, I guess they'll have their time in the sun.
When will
to be fair, you do have to do more work.
Travis? When will we be good?
They have to do more work than they were doing at the beginning of the edition, at least.
Oh my god. Ugh. Yeah, no. So that's probably the matchup that's scary. It's like your fusion pistol rolls like 3 hits, and then they make it into 2 hits, and then they jazz it, and then you're like, oh, okay, I'll take like 6 damage to you. Cool. Okay. I guess I won't kill you, and then you die.
And they heal it.
And they heal it, and you're like, okay, cool. Why are you allowed to do that?
Can they still counteract heal more? Or did that go
No,
away?
they got rid of that.
No. Each ability is now only once a turning point.
But they can counteract heal once, which is like when are you really that's all that matters. You can still like kill 2 people in your activation and then heal afterwards and counteract anyway. So
yeah, the team is crazy, and they've had back-to-back weeks of 70% win rates, I think. So
they're
surprised if they get tapped again.
3. Even if they're not the best team in the game, they're definitively still top 3, I think.
Yeah, it was interesting when they first got nerfed how some people were like, oh, maybe they're not like the best team in the game. I was like, I'd be very surprised if they were not still the best team in the game, because they didn't lose any of their... They just lost like the most free tricks, but the core rules underneath them were like, I can do whatever I want. I just can't do it all twice.
They did. They lost. Yeah, exactly. It's like, how often were you... If you needed to do this twice, I don't know what was happening.
I really needed to be able to rewind 9 inches away and rewind back into full conceal 3 times in a game. That was the only way that I could win that game before.
Yeah. You had nothing else. No power swords, no doom bolts. None of that was real.
No 2-up armor save on a healing platform with just a scratch and fate as my weapon.
Don't say that.
No ceaseless piercing bolt guns that double shoot.
Yeah. No, that's Warp Governor is still a terrifying team. Maybe we'll see. Maybe I'll build mine finally. I'll play that
I guess the real secret is, for as good as Warp Coven are, in 6 months they'll rotate into classification, into unclassified, and maybe the issue goes away. And
you think that's why they're broken? They've got their 1 year to shine now.
Maybe that's why Corsairs are as broken as they are right now. They're testing. Like,
and
I wonder how good you can make rules when things are like about to go away.
Yeah, maybe.
The true conspiracy theory comes out.
I mean, Corsairs got to dodge getting nerfed just because the Marine teams and Inquisition was so out of bounds. And Inquisition also was holding them down. Like, Inquisition was actually probably one of the harder matchups for Corsairs, I would say, as well. They're just very good at killing elves, and they can deal with a lot of your tricks in a lot of interesting ways. So there is that. But Inquisition got nerfed, and some of the ways to deal with the elf tricks got removed. So, like, for example, you could use the Recon Trooper to like avoid getting marked by the Kernite, and then after he's marked someone, dash forward someone else to go kill the Kernite with a crack grenade in the face or something. Like, a lot of those tricks got removed from Inquisition.
I think with good justification. I don't really know if we need to relocate on Inquisition.
I agree entirely. It was upsetting that the only change Kasrkin got was a nerf in a different team. That hurt my feelings a bit.
That's true. Okay. For as much as I like the Kasrkin models and the vibes, it's not a favorable meta for them in any way, shape, or form. I think at the end of last edition they were like theoretically playable, but had a lot of rough matchups.
Yeah, they were playable but bad. They were still probably one of the bottom 5 teams in the game. But at least
turns out a guaranteed delete button 4 times a game was not actually enough to make a 10-man team good enough.
And there was a
10-man team who required you to die twice.
Yeah, they lost the delete button and gained nothing else, which is the real problem they have right now. Oh, you got 3s. This is still mathematically worse, and the plasma gun sucks now.
It's like Deathcore's raw stats are straight up better.
Deathcore is more accurate. Yeah. Deathcore is effectively as accurate or more accurate than Kasrkin with less work.
They're also just like more durable, and they're like faster and better action economy. They get 4 extra guys.
Yep. I know.
But you get 1 wound and a better save.
I'll still die to the Felgor Club the same number of hits.
But then the Deathcore can also just like switch to a 4-up save with ceaseless armor saves. And like if you do that, they're actually going to be like weirdly tanky and shooting.
Hey, listen, if you're in cover and more than 6 away from the enemy and the stars align, you get balanced on your Kasrkin.
That's true. In shooting.
It's a rough life out there for the fair Kasrkin players, and it's kind of disappointing because at the end of last edition, I would say that Kasrkin were a fairly solid team to learn the fundamentals of the game for. Right now, I would not say that because you're just going to fundamentally learn how bad your team is for the entire time you're playing.
One thing about Kasrkin was they were really rewarding if you were playing really fundamentally well. Like if you positioned really well and set up your threats properly, you could just like delete someone's team by outmaneuvering them. But now you don't even have that upside. Like you have no consistency.
Yeah,
really,
like I said, it's really one of those biggest disappointments for me because I took Kasrkin to the Nova preview event because I was curious how they were going to try to fix this team that fundamentally said I have 4 guaranteed kills in a game, and if I position them right, I am in a position where I can win the game. And if I don't, my opponent just smushes me because I have 8 wounds and 4 up save, which is not enough to do anything.
APL and no defensive tools, and
then we switch over to this edition and like, oh, I actually just can't do anything. All of these rules are fun window dressing, and it says I get balanced and I have severe, which is not enough when my plasma does not kill anything.
But it's super situational. You have to work really hard for it.
Yeah. And it was worse at the beginning of the edition when Pierce 1 was worthless. So like you would do all the positioning and then the Legionary would just walk over and smush you anyways.
Yeah. And and it's hard to describe how much worse 3+ is than Elite points. Like that's the thing people don't get. Like we'll see, 3+, it's better than 4+. It's like I don't think you understand just how impactful Elite points post buff were. Like how much that mattered. Oh well.
Yeah, it's
I also missed my 4/5 knives. Give me back my 4/5 knives, okay?
That would help.
I want to beat mandrakes to death with my knives.
And then I'm like, clearance sweep should be, you don't have to be within it. It's just enemies have to be within it, and then it's still just kind of mid. But then instead of being balanced, it's either ceaseless or punishing. And now if the stars align, you can be like severe punishing, and it kind of feels like elite points again.
Yeah, that'd be cool. But we'll get there.
Yeah,
we'll get there.
Look, they've got another year on the classification. They've got some time to get changes.
So next edition will be the Warp Coven because it'll be our year to go. Next edition. Well, next year, sorry, next season. Okay, it's the season of Kasrkin. There you go.
How was that?
Everyone hits them too. We have 2 up saves.
We've ping-ponged around a couple different topics, between Brood Brothers who are playable but have some issues, Patriarch being bad and you got to play like a huge coward, except for the part on turn 1 where you slap your opponent as fast as possible because you can yeet yourself up 15 inches. Corsairs, interestingly enough, I guess you can also yeet yourself 15 inches. It's a striking commonality for Aleksa. How has Australia been interacting with the new edition? Australia's got, I think, like 3 different, large play areas. How has the scene been growing in this edition? I know colloquially, me and Jason in our respective regions, there's just a lot more people playing because the new edition has been good overall. As much as people are kind of complaining about Marines, people like playing Marines.
It's been good, I think. I think it's been pretty steady, consistent growth. I've been very busy, so I haven't been able to go to many tournaments and things. But yeah, we've got I think 50, 60 players coming up for a GT. Nice. We've got a 15, 20 player tournament happening half an hour from my house every month. Good, consistent play. And then I'm gonna start hopefully hosting some because I work weekends, so I need some late night tournaments. So I'm gonna start hosting 6 to 10 p.m. 2 games 2 weeks. So games 1 and 2 1 week. Next week games 3 and 4 6 to 10 p.m. something like that. Hopefully starting in May. It's my hope to start doing that.
This is your local Games Workshop?
No, just at probably my house. I can fit 15 people in the living room.
And so, are you planning to go back to the WTC back this year? World Team Championship?
WTC for sure. We've already got tickets.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, we're locked in. We've got the team.
Are you guys sending in the one contingent? I don't know how many teams each country's allowed this year. I know last year Spain got 3.
You're allowed up to 3 teams. Right now we've got 1 confirmed team. Someone else might make a second or might not. That's up to them. We're gonna start. Well, my goal is that once we at the next data slate, we'll probably start practicing more seriously. I'm there's not much point playing a ton of practice games with the current edition of rules for prepping for a tournament in August. The meta will be completely different.
It's for sure going to be one more data slate if the 3 months timing holds, which they've been pretty good about. As much as people
like. 2 more. We might actually get a data slate a month before WTC.
That would be that would truly be. I think it would make WTC way more interesting because it would shake it up a lot.
When was the previous data slate? Was it like January?
This last one was. I mean, there was a FAQ on the 12th.
That one doesn't count. No, the data slate, the balance update. Was it?
I think that was like end of February.
Yeah, I think it was February.
29th of January. There you go. I found it.
Okay. All right.
So if we hold to the 3 months, right, we'll have one next month, which is April, and then we'll have one in July, roughly. So it's very realistic that we'll be playing with a month to prep. It'll be fun. I have most of the teams, so it'll be okay.
That's why you got to just start practicing with the things that are just one step underneath, way too strong.
Well, I mean, that's why I'm playing Brood Brothers. I think Brood Brothers might get buffs like by the time we get to WTC, and I like playing them.
The four-dimensional chess Aleksa, really putting his brain to work.
Well, let's go. I'll just pull out Chaos Cults again because they're sleeper strong.
You know, we had Nick C on here a couple weeks ago.
I mean, they're not even
talking about how good they are.
They are real. Like, I was like thinking about it. I'm like, man, 2 torments again. We're so back. Like, I saw that change. Like, okay, this is what we needed. We're actually so back. Like, we are really so back. 1 torment is useless. 2 torments is game winning. Like, that really is how it is. There's nothing more to it, right? Like,
I mean, Dick was doing 3 torments on 3. Like, he's not even playing turn 2. He's just like, I'm gonna hit you with 3 torments.
Interesting. I'll tell him he's wrong next time I see him.
Oh man. So things are going well in Australia. We'll get show notes out for any of your local tournament scenes, because for whatever reason we do have a bunch of Australian listeners, so I'm sure they're happy to have you on. So we'll try to rep whichever tournaments are coming up in your area, and if you've got a BCP link for the tournaments at your house, we'll drop those there too.
Yeah. When I get that sorted out, I just need to sort out my availability basically and make sure that it'll be good, and then once I know that, I'll be able to start setting that up. But then there is like, I have the strong desire and the means to do it, so it will happen at some point soon.
Yeah, I mean, the meta's in a pretty interesting spot. I don't really think, as much as I think that Warp Coven are probably one of the best teams in the game, it does feel like a pretty wide pool of teams is pretty playable right now. While, the Horde teams are kind of in weird shape.
I think, look, if you're not playing a Horde team, you're probably okay. If you're playing a Horde team, the game is... It's not even that they're not playable, but the main issue is the, difference in effort needed for the same outcome. That is, the thing that I feel the most playing Brood Brothers is, I need, 6 steps of setup to kill a Space Marine. If I just played Corsairs, I would just shoot him with my Fusion Pistol and he would die. That is, if you want to play a Horde team, you have to be, prepared to put in so much more work to get to the same outcome. And that's really hard, especially with how much more damage reduction there is this edition. I was talking about killing Rust Stalkers, as a Horde team sucks. It's so hard. It's so bad.
Or just to set the stage for anyone who's made it this far, just to understand what we're talking about. When you're on the Bulwark Imperative for Hunter Clad, you take -1 damage on 3 damage or higher. I think in normal damage only? Or is it normal and crit?
It's normal damage.
But if you're shooting a Rust Stalker and they have cover, that means that they get to retain 2 saves or a crit save and then get the damage mitigation. And, they have a reroll ploy, if I remember correctly. You can reroll while you're
you can also reduce piercing as well.
Yeah.
So they will reduce your piercing. Auto retain 2. And then maybe take a crit of damage. Or if they've saved the crit and take 6 normal damage or 8 normal damage, they just won't die. They just won't die. You should have crack grenaded them. It's basically useless. Yep. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's a big combination of just defensive buffs that really can stall out your opponent in kind of crazy ways.
And it most affects, Horde teams are the ones that struggle the most to deal with it, just because the nature of their damage is much more limited. Horde teams have a lower ceiling of damage output per activation than other teams do. Again, that Rust Stalker, if you run up to that and shoot it with the Starstorm Duelist, it probably dies. Let's be real. You shoot the fusion at it maybe lives on 2. You shoot the Shuriken at it, 1 dice goes through, it's dead. But if you're throwing a crack grenade at it or even shooting a plasma gun at it, unless you roll super, super hot, you're not doing anything.
Yeah, 10 wounds is a rough breakpoint for just a lowly crack grenade that is taking -1 damage. So really what we're saying is the humble bolter with no piercing, it doesn't really kill a 10 wound model.
Oh, yeah, but it double shoots though. That's the difference, right? You double shoot that guy, then he'll die.
Yeah,
but
it do be rough out here for the Horde players. There's a lot of dice rolling and not a ton of ways to interact with your opponents.
A little more turning off rerolls as well this edition as well, I feel like.
One way, like Higher Tech had the worst of it, and they kind of got nerfed into the ground enough. It doesn't seem like anyone is doing particularly well with Higher Tech right now.
No, probably not. They got, they probably got hit harder than they needed to.
And then the Technomancer, for his troubles, got hit one more time on the way out.
Just collateral damage.
Yeah, like Higher Tech were frustrating to play against, but they weren't anywhere near as like raw power run you down as Warp Covered or Legionaries or Inquisition even. And they arguably suffered worse nerfs. They got less nerfs, but each of those nerfs was bigger than any nerf like Warp Covered suffered. Like, the nerf to the Psychomancer might be one of the biggest nerfs in the entire data slate.
The difference between the kind of nerfs that the big 4 teams got on this big data slate, the one that we're playing in right now, is that Higher Tech lost like their entire game plan and didn't get anything in return, whereas Warp Coven kept all of the game plans and just lost the most free abusive things that you could do every turn. And Inquisition, for its part, also lost the most annoying stuff they could do for free every turn. But Higher Tech Circle basically just had all of their game plans just like ripped out of the team and thrown into the garbage.
Okay, they can get around smoke grenades now at least.
That's true. We were playing in a weird world where like the original target was doing the obscuring, and that was kind of annoying. But overall, Higher Tech lost the most in those changes. And like Legionary, they got nerfed, but I guess getting Ceaseless was totally fine.
Yeah, well, Ceaseless math had to be pretty much the same. I don't think the Ceaseless change mattered at all. Like, I was looking at it, I'm like, this is like the same math, basically. The other nerfs, like the healing and stuff, were probably more relevant for them.
Yeah.
And, well, the ignore piercing nerf, really. Like, the survivability nerfs they took were way more significant than the ones that Warp Coven got.
Yeah. Yeah, Warp Coven they lost that, but then they still have the ability to have All is Dust and the Fate itself is my weapon, which is sometimes All is Dust plus. All right. Is there anything else that you want to give a final shout out to for the listeners?
Not particularly. I'm putting together a map pack as well, so we'll have some new Volcus maps for you all. Listen, I'm teching, okay? I'm experimenting. We're gonna do some diagonals, okay? We're gonna do some diagonals.
I did that at a tournament. I forced everybody to play on randomized Volcus maps, and they were like, "This is a lot." I was like, "Well, you guys haven't remembered."
Did you do diagonal deployments at all? Or?
I didn't do diagonal deployments. I didn't go that far. I did tilt everything.
That does help. No, I have an interesting idea for how to do it. I'll send it to you, and you can put it in your show notes if you want.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But it's basically, rather than having the diagonal, which I hate for deployment, it's like a cutout. So like 9 inches from the center in one direction, 6 inches from the center in the other, or 4 inches. And then they meet at the point. And that's the cutout where you can't deploy. And then you play a diagonal like that. So I made one together real quickly, had a couple people try it out, and they found it fun. So I might put together like 6 diagonals or something like that, put that out.
Yeah, for sure. If you've got a link, we'll toss up in the show notes for sure. Because I'm sure people would be down to try it.
Yeah, you know what? We said 31st of the show. I actually reckon I'll see if I can put it together by then, and then we'll chuck it in there and put the camera together.
Nice. All right, well, listeners, hopefully everybody had fun hanging out with Aleksa a little bit in Australia.
Good times as always.
And of course, thank you for listening.